So today I thought I would do something a little bit silly and take you on a walking tour of all my sexual misadventures, for lack of a better term. So let's go. So this is our first stop, and what a way to start with the worst one. Maybe. Is there worse ones? Potentially. Anyway, here we are at the historic Ugly Flats next to the river in Partick, where I once spent a memorable but regrettable evening with a man. What else is there to say that won't incriminate me? It was a mediocre date which turned into a bad evening. It was a date that then led to me not touching a dating app for 4 months. That's how bad the experience was. And the big lesson from this encounter was to keep all my social media private. Thanks! This is our second notable site. It's in Kelvin Hall, which is just down the road from Partick, and I don't know the exact location of where this guy lived because we mostly went to mine, but when we once shared a taxi after a date, he got dropped off here, so I assume he lived in the area. Not much to say about this one. It was fine. I think we both gave it the good old college try, and he was a really good kisser, but unfortunately RIP, because when I was looking for him online a few years ago to find out his zodiac sign, I found out that he had died. So I think this just makes sense to have death a part of the video, because it's the, you know, the opposite of sex is death. So here we are. Third location is just a hop, skip and a jump away. We are on Down Hill, where the Sparkle Horse is. Great pub. So this street, we're going to take the back streets towards Hillhead, and on this street was a guy who was the definition of middling. It's just not a lot of effort after the initial seduction, shall we say. Most notable thing about him is that on the first date he told me he took pictures of hand dryers that you can find in toilets, and I still slept with him despite that.
Sunday morning, I walk into my room.
We have now followed downhill up until it's become Downhill Street, and I haven't slept with anyone on the street yet. Maybe one day. But I just love this street. I love walking down the street when I'm in the West End and having a little walk. It's just very beautiful. People have maintained their gardens very well. People really take care of the buildings here, which I think if you're rich, then that's the least you can do. If you can afford one of these houses, you should hold it up to historical standards. And that's how I feel about architecture. Of course there's a boat here. We're now going to take a little shortcut. So this connects whatever street we're on, Kingsgate, to Athole Gardens. So here we are on this big posh street where I slept with a big posh man. And the most notable thing about him is that he had really good perfume on and he was shaved all over, which I don't like. Bring back hairy men. It was also my first dalliance, tryst, romance since lockdown, since COVID hit. So I didn't sleep with anyone for 2 years because I wasn't in a city. And I slept with this guy and then I didn't sleep with anyone for another year and a bit because I was fed up of people being flaky. Athole Gardens leads us very beautifully to Ruthven Street, which is perpendicular to Byres Roads, and this is a consequential site, some might say, because it's the location of my very first hookup that didn't involve a date beforehand. So here I am with what I think is the flat, and it was the top floor, and there is more to the story that I'll get into later. So here we are on Kersland Street, which connects to Great Western Road, and I think it was one of these flats behind me, I can't remember, and it was like a bed sit situation, which is not the first on the list, where like you rent out a room and then you don't have a living room, but you share a kitchen and a bathroom. And it's very, I don't know, to me that's like a very 70s, 80s thing, and we should outlaw those. This one was positive. Yeah. He was obsessed with me, which I like. And I would have liked to pick things back up when I moved back to Glasgow after lockdown, but he had a girlfriend, so the one that got away. It just started to rain a little bit. Someone dropped their shoe. Artiststock, that's a lot of money. Anyway, I think this is a point of entry. I think this is an Aventus historical place on Oakfield Avenue. I think it is. I don't know. I've tried to get it out of my mind. So this is the part 2 of the guy from Ruthven Street. Why? Oh. You can't tell how cute my hair looks, but it is cute. Anyway, this is the part 2 of the guy from Ruthven Street who I met there first. Whatever, night of passion, la-di-da. Never thought I'd see him again because he was from Edinburgh. 3 days later he hits me up and I'm like, okay. I go over, etc. And then he's like, oh, I'm gonna head out for some food, I think. And I was like, do you want me to leave? And he's like, no, stay where you are, baby girl. I was like, okay, bring me something. And then he was gone for quite a substantial amount of time. I texted him. So initially he was like, I'm gonna go get soup. And then he was like, oh, I'm gonna get a pizza instead. And I was like, okay, pizza takes a while to cook, that's fine. And then nothing. He had left me in his friend's flat where no one else was there and returned to Edinburgh. Yeah, I sure do know how to pick him. If I had to guess his star sign, Probably Sagittarius. That's Sagittarius behaviour. Leave a comment if you think otherwise.
Sunday morning, Sunday morning, Sunday morning.
I just realised I forgot one. And I'm not going back because I'd have to walk back. But that guy, I think the date was on Valentine's Day, and it was good. It was a really good date. He sang to me at karaoke, we smoked together, and then we kissed, and I was like, let's go back to yours. And again, another bed set. Don't like those. Not a fan of those. Yeah, it was really, the flat itself, I was just like, Christ. Like, damn bitch, you live like this? That energy. And I was very keen to see him again, but then he said something weird and homophobic, so I told him to fuck off, and he gave me a big long tirade where he talked about Lord of the Rings. But then he messaged me at like 4 a.m, like 2 years after, but by that point I was with my second boyfriend, and when I broke up with that boyfriend, I took that message as an invitation to hit him up, and he very politely let me know that he was seeing someone. And then a few months after that, we matched on Tinder again, and I was like, is this a joke? Do you mean it? And he was like, half and half. And I was like, well, just come over then. I can work with that. But once again, he did something to piss me off, and I got annoyed, and then he tried once more to weasel his way into my life, but I think he hit me up when he was hungover. Never trust a man who's hungover. Just block him if he's hungover. It's just not going to happen, because he's not thinking with this. And yeah, he messaged me when he was hungover. I replied like, okay, so are you coming over? And then he blocked me because he got scared. So here we are on Bank Street, and this is the penultimate entry for the West End tour of my sexual misadventures. And this guy was the first date I went on after my second boyfriend, and it was really good. We had a really good time, but he was really bad at texting back, so I couldn't tell if he wanted to see me or not. And he was a DJ, which should say it all really. And I sent him a George Michael lyric and he loved it, so that was my seduction process, which I advise for most people. And yeah, it just devolved because he wouldn't make plans, and I got annoyed. And then he hit me up, I think like 9 months later, being like, hi. And I was just like, hello, what do you want? And I said I'm not interested, and he was like, Well, I wasn't even asking if you were interested. I was actually just want to see what you were up to, how you were. I tried to text you before, and I was like, oh well, I blocked you on WhatsApp, so I didn't see it. And he was like, oh, that's so cold of you. Anyway, I'm not doing very well right now. And I was just like, hold on a minute. You must think I give a fuck. And that was the first time I was ever truly a bitch to someone, and I should do it more often because it felt good.
You can just touch my soul and then leave. Sadly you turned into something you said you wouldn't.
So here we are at our last historical site, just off of Woodlands Road, and this is the only girl in the tour. That's right, bisexuality exists, and don't forget it. And yeah, we went on a few dates. She made me a gorgeous dinner, but then it was a combination of fear, because it was the first proper like girl I'd dated, so like nerves about that. And also she talked about her ex a lot, which I've since found out is like the norm with girls, with lesbians, with bisexual girlies, and I don't like it. Maybe now I'd be different, but at the time I thought it was very uncouth to talk about it while I was literally in bed next to her. But yeah, it was overall a positive experience, I would say though. It's like really raining now. Oh well. Anyway, so that concludes the tour. So yeah, I think I felt it was not like important. Nothing I do is that important, but I think it's good to discuss sex in a more casual way, in general, but also in this climate right now that we're having, where conservatism is on the rise. And I don't just mean like the conservative parties, political parties, I mean like trad wives and like being a sugar baby, like that kind of stuff, like very patriarchal norms are back in, and I won't stand for it. And yeah, I think also we're having this rise of like people having like dating app burnout, which is so fair because dating apps really do suck, and the algorithm is not kind to romantics. But I also feel like this thing of like yearn for me within 2 seconds of meeting me, enough of this small talk situation stuff, I don't think that's realistic. Like, to build a connection you need to get to know someone, and to get to know someone you have to go through the awkward stages. Sorry. And I am realizing that more as I get older, because I was the same. I was like, why am I not having this instantaneous connection with someone for years? But like, you have to really build on it, and it's worth it. It's worth the effort. And like, dating isn't supposed to be falling in love within 2 seconds. It's supposed to be getting to know people. But yeah, I've also noticed like an uprising, like people treating sex as like this very sacred thing, and it's not. It's just something you do. Like, sex is fun and sex is good. Not everybody does it, but everybody should. And I think having sex is this very like precious thing will ultimately give you more of a complex than just seeing it as two bodies coming together. And coming together, hey, I mean, saying that, don't go and have sex with whoever on the street, but like, it shouldn't be this thing that is like so preciously guarded. I think sex is fun, and to me sex is very important. I've realized that over my last few relationships, and yeah, it's very important to be sexually compatible, to have similar libidos. It can become a real issue when you're not on the same wavelength of like desire, and by that I mean more like energy wise. I'm gonna move now. I think as long as everyone's having a good time, everyone's having fun, then sex doesn't need to be a serious thing. And bring back casual sex. Bring back casual sex. Let's bring it back. Some people are going strong. I'll get back out there eventually. But yeah, it doesn't need to be a whole big deal. And that's all I've got to say. I'm your host, Melissa. Thank you for joining me on this vlogging tour.